being wrongly convicted and all, and when they are found either through DNA evidence or whatever, they found that they were innocent and all, and the states have to pay them back restitution for all that time, I feel like that ought to happen to everybody that's sitting in jail, in prison systems around this country. If you've been sitting there and your reason for being in jail has to do with cannabis, you should be freed immediately, and you should also be paid restitution because you were wrongly convicted. You were wrongly convicted by a law that has no basis. It is strictly set up for a few businessmen because they were greedy and they stood to make a lot of money. And all the money that's been made since on the fact that it being illegal. Our own country, knowing that 25 to 30 million people a day back in 1970 were smoking cannabis daily. Our own country went to Mexico and sprayed paraquat on the marijuana fields in Mexico, knowing that the citizens of the United States were the people in Mexico aren't smoking the cannabis. It all comes to the United States. They knew that we were going to be smoking this, and they knew the health risk of these dangerous chemicals they were spraying. Do you think they cared? No, they didn't care a bit because it's just like every law enforcement group, every government group, the DEA included, all of them, they have gone fanatical over this issue. And you look on these cop shows and stuff where they show these raids and stuff where they're going in there for marijuana. That's what they're going there for. And they treat these people like they've just murdered 10 people. In fact, if you look at the shows where they are arresting people who have committed real crimes, they're treated the same, exactly the same. You can ride down the highway right now. If you have a pound of marijuana in your car, you can be next to somebody that has a pound of heroin in their car. And you both are pulled over by the state trooper. Guess what, folks? The jail time's the same. It's exactly the same. Heroin is the same as cannabis. And this is wrong. I agree. Heroin can be a dangerous drug. And I don't support that anybody use that. But I don't support the fact that if somebody is addicted to that drug, that they should be incarcerated. I think that's wrong. It's their personal choice, either through misguidance. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are hardcore alcoholics, and they're not seeking any kind of help, and they're breaking laws. They're doing heinous things to their family. They're not keeping very good job records up. We don't do anything about that. Why are we so hell-bent on going after the pot smokers? What is the deal there? Where's the foundation and basis for all of this type of activity? And it all comes down to control. It all comes down to the people who are making the money on it. And I'm not talking about the people who bring it across the border and sell it, and the people here in the United States who are growing and selling. Those people aren't making the money. We're talking about the court systems people, the jail systems people, the lawyers, the judges, every facet that gets you from the arrest to the incarceration. These are the people making the money on it. And it's wrong. We're putting people in jail that aren't criminals. And I'm not a criminal. I've never considered myself one time. The very first time I smoked a joint, I didn't consider myself a criminal, and nobody around me that was smoking it ever thought of criminal. We couldn't even believe that there was a law like that. And we just said, oh, well, it'll just be a matter of time. But, by the time people start to get smart and all this law will change. Well, guess what, folks? 40 years later, it's worse today than it was back then. We used to be able to walk around. If you were walking down the street smoking a joint and a cop drove by, he'd wave at you. He knew you were smoking a joint. You think he thought of you as a threat or as a criminal? You think he jumped out of his paddy wagon and tackled you and rolled you across the concrete, scraping your face up and bruising you, hauling you off to jail, putting you in a prison somewhere, and your family can't come see you for 6 months, doing drug treatment classes and stuff like that? You think any of that was going on back then? Absolutely not. And the reason being because it's harmless, people. It's harmless. Look at the statistics. They're a very good parameter that'll tell you in society if something's bad or not. And they don't have one statistic, not even one emergency room visit for a cannabis overdose. You know why you can't overdose on cannabis? Because there are natural receptors in our brain. We are born with them that are specific for the cannabis herb molecule. No other compound binds at these sites, and they are very limited in the brain. And since they are limited, only a certain amount of cannabis can be bound to these brain sites, and that's why there's no overdose from cannabis. You can only get so high. You don't smoke a joint, get high, and say, hey, let's get higher and smoke another one. Doesn't happen, folks. Sorry. When you smoke, you get high. You don't get higher and higher and higher and keep smoking until you just, you're ready to go out and kill somebody. It doesn't happen. Alcohol, on the other hand, you can get drunker and drunker and drunker to the point where you pass out or do something stupid like running into somebody and killing them on the highway. Doesn't happen with cannabis because there are specific and numbered receptor sites in the brain that the cannabis has to bind to for you to get the euphoria, for you to feel the sensation of the high. And what is wrong with getting high? It makes you feel good. What's wrong with that?
Well, that was my dad, Carey Burns, and he has the Cannabis Corner coming up very soon. It's going to be a weekly web show presented and produced by freedomfiles.us. And, wow, I mean, we should have gone for a trip, Jeff, somewhere down the street.
Oh, yeah. Man knows what
he's
he's
better than we
about.
are at the show.
Man,
we just stumble and,
Y'all might have got arrested, though.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll be right back with the final segment of Freedom Files right here on American Freedom Radio. Going into the final segment, you are listening to Freedom Files on American Freedom Radio. We're on 3 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7. And, of course, don't forget about our Saturday night show. That's always fun from 9 to 11 right here on AFR. And I wanted to thank a few people before we carry on with the final segment. Of course, El Director, Jeff, does a good job always here.
Way to go, Jeff.
Thank you.
And Adam Romero back at the AFR HQ in Austin, Texas. Danny Romero. Thank you, Danny, for always letting us do our thing 3 days a week now. I don't know why, but
Thank you.
I guess they like us.
They like us. They really like us.
And be sure and support our sponsors and advertisers, folks, because that's what keeps AFR running. So all the advertisers, all the sponsors, go and check them out. And if you see one you like, well, contribute to them. They're good guys, good people. I mean, they support American Freedom Radio, and that's what it's all about, supporting each other. And we also have a lot of great shows. Dad's doing the web show called the Cannabis Corner, and we also have a pro-marijuana show here on AFR Monday through Friday from 11 to midnight with Casper Leach called Time for Hemp. Check that show out. The Truther Girls, they're on at this time 5 to 7 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Sonia and Karen. I like Karen. She's my favorite of the two. We also got the Truth Brigade with Christy. She's coming up in about 9 minutes from now. Another awesome show. She's on Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. And making their big premiere coming up Thursday. They're going to be on 5 days a week now from 3 to 5. The Intel Hub. That's right, the Intel Hub. Starting Thursday officially. Of course, they've been on the past couple of weeks before my show, Saturday night from 7 to 9. But they're moving. We're moving them up.
Yeah, they already surpassing us. What's up with that, huh?
Well, we try to do 3 days a week, and look how it happens.
Yeah, we can barely pull that off.
Yeah, that's right. We can barely pull that out. I mean, eventually, we hope to get up to that level, but right now we're happy with 3 days a week. Yeah, that's cool of us. 3 days a week, that's fine. 5 days a week, no, that's okay. We'll just stick with 3. Thank you very much. So that's going to be a great show. So be sure and check out Intel Hub starting this Thursday from 3 to 5 Central on American Freedom Radio. Word has it they're going to have a really big guest on, so you may want to tune in for it.
Okay.
Before we go, I want to get back to Dad, who is doing the new weekly web show called the Cannabis Corner, which you can watch on the Cannabis Corner YouTube channel, which is linked up right now at freedomfiles.us. And, of course, we'll have it posted on freedomfiles.us. What is your very first episode going to cover, basically?
The first episode is going to be a general overview of what we're going to cover on the future shows and stuff. And then after that, we'll get very specific. We'll have very specific subjects each week. We're going to discuss the medical marijuana issue. We're going to discuss hemp growing, commercial growing, residential growing. We're going to discuss how the law came about in the beginning. So each show will be designed for specific. We won't just be doing generalized talking like we did today. But the first one is just going to be an overview, and I'm going to pretty much talk about all the things that will be coming up, and I hope all of y'all will tune in and check the videos out, and I hope you'll support the legalization of cannabis. And in some way, if you can do that, you know that we'll end the gang violence that's going on in America.